And this is what I mean. Usually, it's just the accumulation of so many different things. You add one problem to another problem, to another problem, to another problem, and each one makes the last one worse. And that is really ultimately what makes bad writing. Ta-da! So, today our friend here, Julian, sent a message, and Julian Parker sent a message a while back, and finally I returned from a vacation, and I'm today here to film this particular video. I've read this, I think, about a week ago, and I remember my notes, and I have a particular issue. Yes, I do. And the problem with this is the accumulation of very small minor things. Because you see, this piece of writing by Julian is actually quite fantastic, okay? It's actually quite fantastic. It's just that usually what you end up having with most writers is that there is just this minute details, and the devil is in the details. And it's basically stabbing by 1,000 knives. You might be good, but you might be inattentive, and you could end up stabbed 1,000 times, slightly, just like that. Tick tock, you know, getting stabbed a little bit. And so let's take a look at how this particular piece of, writing, how do these problems accumulate? So it starts with, ta-da, I present to you our new home. So the first problem is actually the dialogue, right? If you have the piece of communication, ta-da, obviously it's very loud, and I'm expecting the characters jubilant and all of that says, I present to you our new home. Of course, there's no need for an exclamation mark. And so that's quite straightforward. However, I think it is interesting, the opening itself, because we are curious about this new home, right? So I think that's wonderful, right? My eyes shifted from mother to the structure and back again to my mother. My backpack made it hard to look up at anything. And quite frankly, I wasn't looking forward to any more surprises. So the second issue, so that first issue is just the dialogue. If you look at the dialogue, by the way, and you keep examining, there's always these structural things that make it very, very, very messy. But ultimately, in this particular thing here, one particular prose issue here is the eyes, my backpack, my mother. It's very repetitive, right? And it really makes your writing basically like someone is knocking the head of the reader, you know, dock. And I just knocked my head. But you see, it can be a huge problem, because ultimately the reading of the book, the act of reading the book, becomes sort of a beating, where there's almost like a trickle of water or a drizzle of water, droplets of water that keep dropping on the head of the reader. And you want to make sure that your prose is actually diversified. Her smile radiated a certain vibrancy. Okay, this is another thing which is redundant prose. We know her smile radiated, that's it, that's all you need. A certain vibrancy, unnecessary. Surely an enchantment of some sort. Because right now we want to focus on the new home. We want to focus on what the story is fundamentally. What is the hook, right? So you don't want to waste a lot of page count or word count early on, or this early on basically a certain vibrancy. Surely an enchantment of some sort. Ta-da! This is another problem, right? So I have in my notes here, the third problem is the tone, right? There's some inconsistency with the tone. You have ta-da, and here you have surely an enchantment of some sort. A spell meant to lay any and all trouble to rest for all who had the fortune of looking at it. Now, I suppose this is not that bad, because again, there's nothing wrong with it. It works. It gets it gets the message across. But the two problems come together. First, the tone doesn't match. Ta-da! I present to you our new home. That is very casual, very modern style. This entire sentence is communicating a smile that basically radiated. Okay? Why is that a problem? Very good question. I will answer that. Why? Why? Because, you seem to be focusing on this one, man. It's not a big issue. Move on. God help you. Well, the hook is not very strong, is it? It's really not a strong hook. Because people usually, here's what I do. When I'm at the library, I'll pick a book and I'll read the first page or the first 2 pages. And if I like the first 2 pages, I'll read the first chapter. And if I like the first chapter, I will read the whole book. It is that simple. And so the first 2 pages are very important. You want to actually hook the reader with some story, something that matters, right? Okay. Because if I present to you our new home is going to be on the first page, I advise it better be a haunted house, right? So that's, so we now have, the 3 paragraphs, right? And it's been like 5 minutes, 3 paragraphs, 5 minutes. And these are small details. They're not really big issues because, again, the story works. Look at it. It looks great, I said weakly. Is it too late to go back to Aunt Denise's, I thought, looking back as the car screeched away in the distance. Taking another look at the building, I felt the air escape my crushed diaphragm as my shoulders shifted under the weight. Okay, so this is another issue with the prose, right? So the way, the style of description is not proactive, okay? So what is proactive? What is passive or submissive? So I felt the air escape my crushed diaphragm. Crushed diaphragm. Diaphragm. Like, that is a medical term. You don't necessarily want to use that. You just want to put there my lungs. Most people can put it together. It's just better to use lung. Because again, diaphragm, I suppose, yes, I know where it is. I know what it does. But let's, I felt, also, this word I felt, there is really no need for it. The air escaped my crushed diaphragm, or the air escaped my crushed lungs. That would work a lot more directly. Or you could just write, my shoulders shifted and under the weight, and the air escaped my crushed lungs. So it would be a lot direct, and you wouldn't put the important information, the cause, behind. So because this is the cause, right? This is the cause. So you want to put it first. And that's just 1 sentence, 1 minute, few problems. It's not a lot of issues. I do like the story. I remember writing, by the time I finished here in my notes, I even have it. Basically, I liked toward the end and the whole structure of the entire story. It's just these small issues. The tall corner structure, stared back, wedged between an old salon and a beat-up restaurant that had been long abandoned, as is common in most inner city neighborhoods. So I like this sentence. I do. I like this type of prose. It is focused. It has a flashy sort of purple prose nature to it, but it doesn't overdo it, right? Exactly. The 2-story townhome sat on a shaky foundation that creaked under the weight of our heels. I closed my eyes and wished for what other kids got. New toys, new beds, everyone except me. A hand clasped my shoulder as I fought back tears. This is beautiful. And I remember, that's literally what I wrote in my notes. You see, this entire bit that I have highlighted is wonderful. You should basically focus on writing more like this. There is there's enough descriptions. It is focused, it's poignant, it's direct, and it is punchy. It actually hits very well. So it's not loose. It does not, it also has a consistent tone. And that, I think, is wonderful. I know this isn't the best, Julia, Bugs, but I promise I'll make it better. We'll make it better. Okay? She winked. I looked up at her. Her frizzy curls were pulled back tightly into the neat bun, her lips pursed and painted in a neat crimson line. So you see, it does get better, right? So it's just a problem of practice, because you need to be a little bit more consistent. So at the end of the day, this particular story, these problems I've mentioned so far, the problems of the tone, the dialogue, the way of just, you know, punctuating these unnecessary exclamation marks. Exactly. And also sometimes the prose can become very repetitive. These small problems come together to really choke everything down. Like, for example, I felt. You remember I felt? That was unnecessary. I felt here. I felt the air escape. That was unnecessary. But look at here. Suddenly, the door flew open. Okay. If the door flew open, we know it's sudden. So you don't have to communicate that. For example, I stood up. Yeah, I hope you didn't stand down. Exactly. So I stood. Just say I stood. So the door flew open. In fact, it took me years to figure these problems out myself. So every writer struggles with them. Now, you might say, that's way too mechanical. I don't want to spend my life doing all that mechanical stuff, man. I just want to write a story. Yes, but if you want to write a clean, publishable prose that is efficient, it would be better if you can tell the same story with the same fidelity in lower word count while also maintaining a very focused flow. So the lower word count is just going to make your book easier to, you know, print. Yes, but also the door flew open is a lot more immediate, you know. It's a lot like, in fact, by not including suddenly, you make sure that the door flew open is better. The door flew open, in fact, communicates, there's more suddenness, I would say, in the door flew open compared to this, which is suddenly. Okay, so suddenly what? Like, suddenly the door flew open. Yeah, man, it's a lot more saggy. It's a lot more look, nobody wants a saggy book. Don't be a saggy writer, okay? Anyhow, I love this one. It's very short, as you can see, 2 pages. So that is where I'm going to leave it, right? I love this bit. In my notes, I actually wrote, make sure you read the last paragraph for everyone, okay? So I like this paragraph. Anyway, his eyes overanalyzed every motion she made. I had seen, you know, this look on many men. This fawning spell entranced them, and it made them mad. Irrational is the better word. My eyes stayed fixated on him as he beckoned us inside. My mom noticing my discomfort, took my hand and offered me a quick, reassuring grin. I smiled toothily back. I really could never resist. I glared back at the enchanted landlord, his hand moving mechanically as the door eerily closed behind us. Alright, so I love this. So in my notes it says, you know, read the last paragraph. Thou shalt not pass. Anyways, so I'm gonna leave it here. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you took something from it. Make sure you don't die by 1,000, you know, cuts. Make sure you don't die by 1,000 cuts, because Julian Parker died by 1,000 cuts. Anyhow, have a nice day. Bye bye.